and viewers, getting into our show this morning. For our first segment, we are being joined by a team from the MPower TT, and we're going to be talking about the rollout of that MPower program here in Tobago. It's a program that was birthed under the Ministry of Sport. So we're going to get into all our discussions, and to have that discussions with me this morning, I am being joined by Ms. Shemeka Ramlal, and she's the Stakeholder Relations Coordinator out of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, as well as Mr. Selvyn Lewis, and he's a stakeholder and one of the lead facilitators. So good morning and welcome to you both. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Kandace. Good morning, Tobago.
So let's start with first, what is this MPower TT program?
MPower TT is a male empowerment program coming out of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. It is the brainchild of the Honorable Shamfa Kudjo, Minister of Sport and Community Development. Back when she was Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs in 2019, she would have had the opportunity to give birth to this project. That was simply an idea back in 2017, 2018, just on pen and paper. And this project really was conceptualized from doing her walkabouts in Tobago, in places like Golden Lane and Bethel, Plymouth. And she would remember, with a passion for youth development, as she still does have, she wanted to really curate a program that focused on the development of young people, particularly males. And she would recall back when she was abroad a few years prior to that, she always wanted to do something for men. She wanted to give birth to a Black Diamond project. And growing up, you would hear of so many programs that focus on the development of young women, but very few programs or very few projects you would hear about focusing on how to be a man. Who teaches a boy or a young man growing up how to be a man? And that's where MPower TT would have been birthed. And when she came across the sport and community development, she was able to bring across MPower TT. So MPower TT has 4 components, 4 tenets. The first being the M zones, or the man zones, the male-friendly zones launch talks, where we move from community to community and have conversations. So it's a room or a space filled with men only, and they have conversations on different topics. We have brand ambassadors and masters on board. And the program, did I say that the program focuses on young men 16 to 40 years old? So we go to community centers, we go to bars, we go to basketball courts, places that men gather, places that men are comfortable to have conversation on topics that, men need to have, creating a safe zone for men to talk. The second would be the life skills training component, which Mr. Lewis is the lead facilitator for. His company is the lead facilitator for. And then during that component, they're able to focus on topics like dressing for success, resume writing, dining etiquette, and so many other topics. And then we move on to the third component, which is the life coaching and career guidance. We bring on board a psychologist, a life coach, and a social worker. And they have one-on-one sessions with the young men where they're able to assist them with chartering their course for their career development. And in some cases, young men simply don't know what they want to do, what they want to be. And that's where, we bring on board the life coach and career guidance officer and so on to assist them with that. And the fourth component being the mentorship and apprenticeship, where they are deployed into, you ask a young man, what do you want to be? What are you interested in? And you would have young men say, I want to be an electrician, I want to be a plumber, I want to be a pilot. And then we pair them with a professional in that particular field. And they have an apprenticeship of about 8 to 10 weeks, sorry.
Great. So now, you've already been rolling this out. Has it already been rolled out in Tobago or in Trinidad at this point in time?
For this cycle, it has been rolled out in Tobago already. We started on the 25th of March in Tobago, and we officially launched the program in Tobago this afternoon.
Great. I mean, from those conversations that you've been having, especially because I'm very interested in that, because we know that our young men, especially, I mean, they face a whole lot of challenges, and they are unfortunately the biggest contributors to some of the social ills within our society right now. When you're getting in there and getting into their spaces, and you're getting down to, you know, just what are the issues that are causing them to behave in certain manners. You know, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing?
So thanks again, Kandace, for having us this morning. I'll start right off the back by talking about a particular young man. He said, "Sir, I don't really need much money, you know. I just want my daddy to call me." So sometimes when you see young men acting out, we could simply stand on the side and say, they're just bad. But there's something called trauma that is real. And the life skills component, which is the component of the program that I'm leading through my organization, the BACAM, we go through a series of topics with them that in the first instance creates a space that gets them comfortable enough to talk about how they truly feel. Why society has rejected them. Why do my parents say to my sister, stay inside, we need to protect you, but doesn't really care about what goes on with me. So in some instances, a lot of young boys, they grow up with the mentality that they have to fend for themselves. And therefore, we leave them in the hands of other guys who may not have the right idea in terms of how to bring them up properly, you know? So one of the key things in the MPower program in terms of, and you mentioned it earlier, in terms of, unfortunately, when you look at the front page, in the media, whether social media or otherwise, we are seeing that a lot of these young males are central actors to some of the devastating things that are happening in the country.
Yes.
This may sound strange, but I always have an agenda. If you've noticed, I have my red, white, and black one. What is it to be patriotic, Kandace? Sitting back and just saying, crime is getting worse, is getting worse, is getting worse. In my opinion, patriotism is really about us citizens playing our part. So I was very, very happy when I was asked to partner with the ministry to play my part. I mean, I've been doing this type of work for at least 30 years. So immediately, like even I'm in Tobago right now, I want to know what's going on in the streets. I was right by Jade Monkey Ashes last night, seeing what young men are doing, what's the pulse, what's the vibes. And a lot of times when you get that opportunity to talk to them one-on-one, you realize what they really want is a chance.
And did you get that opportunity last night?
Definitely.
And what were some of the responses that you got?
In fact, talking to some young men, they were asking things like, how can I get involved? I told them off the bat, how can I get involved? Where's the venues? What kind of, I like, in fact, what I realized a lot, electrical seems to be a buzz kind of thing for a lot of young men right now. I have an uncle, he used to do electrical, but I don't really have the skill, I don't have any qualifications. And that is exactly what MPower is doing. It's setting you up in the first instance. That's why we do life skills, because if it is by the time we place them as interns, we'd want to know that the environment that they're in, their deportment, the way they carry about themselves, that's up to speed at that point. But I feel very hopeful. I'm very, very enthusiastic about the potential of the program. We did it before in 2022, well, at least when I came on board in 2022. And today, we still have a lot of young men who are still employed with those persons who took them on as interns.
Now, I mean, one of the things that a lot of people, I mean, not just men, but just young people in general, they need that constant mentorship, you know, and we see these programs coming up every so often, something happens and you get some stakeholders on board and it goes on for a few months. But what is a long-term goal for this MPower program to ensure that it can continue impacting and it can there's that sort of that consistency for our young men?
I'm happy that you asked that, Kandace, because last evening we had our stakeholder consultation in Tobago, and that was one of the topics that we would have spoken about with the stakeholders. And the continuity, yes, MPower TT, the program has its part to play, and MPower TT, a cycle is roughly 3 to 4 months. And we're hoping that after this cycle we can have another, because this is our second cycle. We also believe that each person, each stakeholder that comes on board, each person, each citizen has their parts to play and have to carry the MPower TT, even if it's not the program, the MPower TT identity. So within our within their communities, we ask that our masters and brand ambassadors do things that, so you have a community group, you have your M zones within your community group. And we are seeing this already taking place, where the masters and brand ambassadors are implementing and have initiatives that are very similar to MPower TT that focus on the issues that young men face and just cultivating that safe space for men to have real talk, real discussions.
So you're having that launch this evening. Where is it happening?
So the launch takes place at 5 p.m. this afternoon at the Pigeon Point Heritage Pavilion. And yeah, we start at 5 p.m., 5 to 8 p.m. this afternoon.
And then how can people get involved?
So persons can get involved from following our social media pages. You can reach out to us on our MPower TT, that's MPowerTT, social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have a YouTube channel where we usually upload our M zones, so persons can check out all of our sessions there, and they can also contact us at the Ministry of Social Sports and Community Development, and at 303-4663.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much both for being on with us, and I have to say, continue the work that you guys have started, and we hope and we pray that that some impacts can be had, so we can change some of the things that are happening within our society for the better.
Thank you very much, Kandace.
All right, viewers, well, we got to go for a quick break, but don't worry, we've got a whole lot more coming up for you on GNT, so don't go anywhere.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the